Images undertaken of a Japan spy aircraft shot the Polar Korean flagged Ryachant Mob 1 at anchor following to L's ship previous Tuesday night, on 250 kilometers, 155 miles, east of Shanghai. The Ryachant Mob 1 is one of 8 sea vessels prohibited of incoming ports through the BAL by UN sanctions regime targeting Polar Korea. Japan's Ministries of Defense and Overseas Sphere told in statements by the government firmly suspects the 2 sea vessels were comprising in the transmitting of consumer goods time at ocean. A joint nations safety justice solution gone in September bans UN term state of easier or charming in vessel-to-vessel transfers in Polar Korean flagged where the some vessel supposedly implicated, the Wonhang 11, flies the banner of Belize, but is belonging and controlled by a post-Kong-based business, on to accounting records of Aquasis, a navigation data database advanced by Europe Association and France authorities. Vessel owners and link frequently registry their wear in some places to escape national regulation. The is the tertiary period in latter months the Ryachant Mob 1 has been trapped charming in estimated vessel-to-vessel transfers at ocean. Although the division did not behalf the some vessel implicated, the Southward Korean Overseas Ministry has withdrawn a post-Kong registered ship, the Beacon Winmore, for transmitting exquisite oil to a Polar Korean vessel. How identical date. Trade consumer goods at seaport is considerably facilitating rather than at ocean. Polar Korea's obvious trust on vessel-to-vessel transmission is an index how sanctions regime include at the really low done it stronger for the Polar's navy to attract in outdoor industry. But the reality how the Ryachant Mob 1 has been continuously trapped infringing World Act, in world water, as well key points flaws in sanctions regime coercion. The is Polar Korea adaptive and the just way how sanctions regime will job if such formidable the sanctions regime as well adjust, told Anthony Ruggiero, an specialist in the use of AIM finance measures at the basis for the defense of democracies. The joint nations gone subsequent rounds of sanctions regime versus the Polar Korean mode recent year, targeting power imports, charcoal supply and overseas labor and navigation, amongst some things. The measures already gone versus the Polar's navigation segment are deliberate a urgent portion of the Washington-led world blood pressure campaigning targeting the Polar's lead Kim Jong-un and his mode. The Whites building hopes sanctions regime will sluggish the growth of the nation's rocket and nuke programmed, and suffocate Pyongyang's economics to the spot wherever Kim would ultimately put his nation's nuke arms on the negotiations spreadsheet. Along in Japan, and all our allies, we will go on to strengthen our maximal blood pressure campaigning before Polar Korea conducted specific steps in the direction full, verifiable, and permanent denuclearization, Pence told. Pence did not indicate if the sanctions regime would be simplex or would be entered to the UN Safety Justice.